Hey everyone, Ryan Young, Jiu-Jitsu. I hope you're doing well. So we got a little overcast day here in Dallas, Fort Worth during the summer, which is awesome. When I lived in California, when it get rainy, it was cold. Well, here in Texas, when it rains, it's pretty warm, which is awesome. But anyway, so today I'm going to cover a topic that we've talked about before, because it's a hot button topic that everybody seems to want to ask. So let's have at it. Got this from Facebook. If you could do a video on how long do schools take to promote to the next level. I'm currently a 2-stripe white belt with almost 2 years of experience in Jiu-Jitsu. Seems like I should be a blue belt. So, yeah. It's hard to tell people that your promotion, it's up to you, but it's not up to you. And I never really, it never makes me feel comfortable when people say stuff like this, but you know, the whole thing about Jiu-Jitsu is to do stuff that's, morning. The whole thing is to do stuff that's uncomfortable to the point where it no longer is a factor. As an example, getting put under mount the very first time, and somebody's sitting on you and they tell you to get out. And you're like, okay. And you struggle, and you can't get out. Right? But what do? You say, do it again. And then do it again. And do it again. Until you learn how to do it. And being under mount is not really a big deal anymore. Then what do? You take it up a step. And your opponent now is on you. But because you can escape, he starts setting up a choke on you. Setting up an arm on you. And you're like, oh crap, right? And then you work to get out. And then you get to the point where you're comfortable when you get out. The next step that is very useful that a lot of schools, especially the sport-minded schools or sport-focused schools, don't do is they don't do it as if somebody's slapping you or punching you while you're under mount. Because these things all add to the stress that makes it to where it's harder for you to escape. But it's essential that you put yourself into that spot to make you do it. Now let's say you just roll without any kind of stress other than rolling, and you've been doing it for a number of years, and you're not at the belt that you want to be at. Remember, as I've said in many videos, rolling doesn't make you better. It's really the drilling that makes you better, right? Rolling is for fun. You can roll, but if you don't learn anything, if you haven't learned anything, and you're not drilling what you learned, then you're never going to get better, even though you've been rolling for 5 years. Believe me, I've seen it. And there were periods of time where I might have gotten into a rut and I just wanted to roll. And I didn't roll with an objective in mind, right? What does that mean? Get better at your mount escape. Get better at holding mount even, right? Can't hold mount, so do it more often. Stuff you don't want to do, you got to do over and over. So because of the fact that Jiu-Jitsu is all about, at least successful Jiu-Jitsu, is all about doing what you don't like, right? Doing what you're uncomfortable with, not comfortable as well. And that comes up to the belt thing. Somebody asks me about belt or about their rank. I'm not a fan of that. But as a school owner and as somebody who runs a school and teaches a school, I have to expect that question will pop up every once in a while, especially from children. Children are the ones that kind of want to know, when do I get my next belt, right? Because they see other kids getting it as well. We try to instill in them to not really worry about the belt, just worry about doing what you do. If you have a curriculum like we do, it's pretty cut and dried as far as what you need to know. So it's really easy, right? I have this one student out on the East Coast, and he would come out and train with me, and he'd book me for a module. Those of you who are in our KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu online community, you know about the modules that we have. Our curriculum is set up into 6 modules. And it doesn't matter what belt it is, they're the same 6 modules. That doesn't mean the pieces within the modules are the same. in the white or the blue belt modules, but they're set up in modules. I'll give you an example. In module 1, in white belt, white to blue belt, you have to get out of anything related to mount. So for us, we have mount, side mount, seat belt, and worst position. In addition, there are self-defense concepts that are in there as well. The most common situation in an attack would be a headlock, right? So we teach you a number of different ways to get out of headlock. This is module 1. So this particular student of mine would fly in and we'd work on a module every time he comes in. And he'd stay for a week. It takes about 12 hours to really teach and instill a module into a student. If it's on a one-on-one basis, right, where I can teach you, I can answer questions, I can drill you, I can answer questions, I can drill you some more, I can answer questions and teach you new stuff, and I can move you along at the pace that you can be moved along. Well, this one student had come from module 1, went back home, and let everybody climb all over him, right? Because he had to escape out of those positions. He had to get practice with it. He comes back, we do module 2, and module 2 is your escapes from the cross-side class of positions, right? So you get out of cross-side 1, cross-side 2, cross-side 3, CASA, modified CASA, north-south, and knee on belly. So we teach him that. Now he goes back home again, and he's practicing everything that he learned, right? In 12 and a half hours in private instruction and about another 10 hours in group class instruction while he was in town for those 2 sessions, 2 weeks. So he's, with regard to other white belts and even their blue belts, they can't catch them anymore, right? Now, he doesn't know how to submit them because we haven't gone into that yet, but they're not catching them anymore. He comes back for the 3rd time when we're doing guard passes. That's module 3, along with some self-defense concepts as well. But we're doing module 3. He goes back, and now he can pass everybody's guard. He can get out of everything they're doing. These are not, particularly advanced students. These are students that are at his level or, been training a little longer, maybe a year or 2 longer, to the point where one of the purple belts is complaining, right? Telling him, hey, telling the instructor, hey, this guy's really good. Why is he still wearing a white belt? The instructor's like, yeah, thinks about it. He does module 4, module 4, where he learns how to play guard and starts choking people out, arm barring them and all that. Then this purple belt is complaining, hey, to the instructor, just give him a blue belt already. So a student of mine gets a blue belt and then promptly calls me and says, I don't know what to do. I say, what do you mean? He says, well, my instructor just gave me a blue belt. I said, congratulations. And he says, well, I know I'm not a blue belt. And I go, what do you mean you know you're not a blue belt? He says, well, I still have modules 5 and 6, and and I have to start rolling and all that. And well, he is rolling in a school because that's all they do. But he says, I'm not a blue belt, right? What do I do? I said, just wear it. I said, because why do you want to dishonor your instructor and not have him wear the belt? He says, well, he's not really my instructor. You're my instructor. And I said, I understand that. And he says, but you haven't given me the blue belt yet. And I said, why is that? He said, because I still have 2 more modules to go to. I go, exactly. I go, so we do have a criteria for you to earn your blue belt. Whereas with him, it's just you being able to roll with his blue belts and his purple belts, which hastened his decision to give you a blue belt. So with regard to the question that had come in that I started this whole video with was, he felt that he should be a blue belt by now because he's been training for 2 years. Without me knowing what he's training and who he's training with and how he's training, it's hard for me to say what belt he should be wearing. Really, I can't say. His instructor has his own reasons for not giving him a blue belt yet. And, and then, back to the early part of this video where I was saying the conversation is a tough one to have because nobody wants to really tell somebody that they're not what they want to be. Because society is such that you want to be positive, you want to be affirming, you want to, push people up, not pull them down. And I get all that, but someone not earning a belt, any particular belt, like I said, it's partly due to you, partly due to your instructor, because you have to do what you need to do to be where you are that belt, right? You're doing what every person in that belt should be able to do. On the other hand, your instructor may have some criteria for you to wear that belt. Now, I don't think it's fair for the instructor to not tell you what you need to do and what he expects or she expects out of you. They may not say this is what you need to do to earn your blue belt, but they could say, hey, look, let's just say his name is John. Hey, look, John, you play on top all the time. I don't ever see you play on the bottom. Now, you are beating people because you're bigger, stronger, faster than the average person. So you can impose your will on them with your size, your speed, and your strength. However, there is going to be somebody who's bigger, faster, stronger than you. And if you're always used to being on top, this guy puts you on your back, you won't be ready for it. So what I need you to do is I need you to start playing more from your back. I need you to give up the top position, give up the submission, and just work on getting out and getting up, right? Get out, get up, hold, set up, submit. Those are your quick 5 steps into the routine of training and trying to submit someone. Because I come across a lot of big guys, and that's what I see. I see guys who are just so dominant, right? And their whole thing is they win because they dominate people, right? Oh yeah, I didn't get a submission, but I dominated him. Well, what really is a win? A win is something decisive. Just because you are dominating him doesn't mean anything, right? I'll give you an example. Years and years and years ago, Rickson Gracie's son, Corone, would enter tournaments, and I think he had the most come-from-behind victories of anyone. He could go through a whole match being dominated by another guy. But as long as there's still time, he can still win, right? And that's the best thing about doing jiu-jitsu tournaments, is that there are so many ways to win. Now, in my mind, there's a hierarchy of wins. The preference for me, for my students, is for them to win by submission. But if they don't win by submission, they can win because they're ahead on points and time runs out. Not my preferred way for somebody to win, but in the eyes of the tournament, it's still a win. You still a gold medal. Still get a gold medal if you win all your matches and you don't submit a single person. In the grand scheme of things, it's not really the way you want to win. But for tournament purposes, a win is a win, right? So if you're beating everybody by dominating them, but you're not submitting them, then to me that's just an exercise, right? But for this particular person, wondering about his belt, like I said, talk to your instructor. Find out what you want me to do. Don't ask what you want me to do to get to my blue belt. Ask, okay, coach, what's next? Right? What should I be working on? Okay, then go work on it. I can tell you that's exactly what I did when I was training under Dave Kama. I still am, but when I was a brown belt. I just asked, okay, what do you want me to work on? And he would usually just give me something to work on once he feels that whatever he last gave me to work on, I was doing well enough, right? Well enough for him to say, okay, let's move you on. And I'd see him 3 days a week, right? We'd train at my house on Sundays, and I'd see him in class Tuesday, Thursday nights. And he'd say, all right, Ryan, work on this. And until he tells me otherwise, that's what I would work on, right? I just trust him, and I just let him determine what I need to do and what direction I need to go. But for a lot of people, it's hard because you think to yourself, man, I've been doing this for 2 years. I submit everybody I train with, and I'm still wearing this particular belt. I haven't moved up. Yeah, I get it. But are you there for the belt, Or are you there because you want to learn the art? Now, if a belt is simply a recognition of you progressing in the art, if you don't get a belt, don't you think that might mean you're not progressing? Or maybe you're progressing, but in a direction that your instructor wants you to progress, right? You're not going in the way he wants you to, right? He wants you to play from the bottom more, but all you do is play on the top. But you beat everybody. Well, big deal, right? It's not about you beating everybody, because there's a lot of it about you beating yourself. Now, when I say when you beat yourself, it's that if you're afraid to be under mount and your opponents always mount you and you're so afraid of it, you don't ever let anybody mount you, right? I remember one particular black belt that I know. I asked him, I go, what happens when people take your back? He goes, well, I'm not good at getting out. And I said, okay, so what do you do when they do take your back? He goes, I don't let them take my back. Wrong answer. You need to let people take your back so you can more round out your game to where it doesn't matter what position you're in. You can give anybody whatever they want and you're still going to get out. If you don't get out, then that's where you go, okay, now I have something to work on. I need to get out of mount, right? And then you do. Eventually gets to the point where you get out. It's okay, now let anybody have whatever they want. Oh, crap. He got me in worse position and I got stuck and I tapped. Okay, so that tells you work on worse position, right? If you look at something like our ladder breaks all the positions down. It tells you what all the positions are that you need to know to be successful in Jiu-Jitsu. If there's a position in there that you don't work on it. Don't worry about the belt, right? Because, oh, and going back to that student that would come in, he eventually did earn his blue belt from me, and he earned it with the highest score that I've ever tested. And this is somebody who's not in my academy on a day-to-day basis, but what he did was he spent his time just studying the concepts that we went over and reviewing everything and then going to the academy that he was at and making everybody do it to him until he learned how to do what he needed to do. That's a good way to do it. And then after that, once he got his blue belt from us, so he got the blue belt twice. Got it once from his instructor, and then he got it from us. Well, he ended up leaving his other school because the other instructor would call him stupid because he wouldn't be doing things the way the instructor taught him because the student decided to do things how we do it at KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. That's just what he did, right? And that's what he wanted to do, and that's what he decided to do. I think it made him better, and I think he does too, but he ended up leaving that school because he said it just wasn't a fun environment for him anymore. So he went off to another school, which more aligned with what he wanted to do, that taught self-defense and stuff. And then, from what I know, he's taking a break from training, which is fine, but you know, he has those skills, and he doesn't care about the belt. And for, you know, the gentleman who sent me this request, don't worry about the belt, just worry about getting better. No matter what belt you wear, you're still gonna have to, you know, still train. And if you're only after the belt, then Jiu-Jitsu is not gonna be fun for you, and then you're gonna quit. So that's all I got for you. Anyway, I mentioned our curriculum. It's online, KAATAROJujitsuOnline.com. Oh no, well, take out the online. This is KAATAROJujitsu.com. You can go on our website, click on the Learn Online link, and then you can, you know, do what we do and have it all structured out, have it all laid out for you. You don't have to, you know, get your belt testing and done through us. You can just use it for your own benefit, make yourself better in the art that you love. And, you know, that's really all I got on that. For those of you that are wondering, you know, we're at KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. We have two campuses, one in Laguna Hills, California, which is Orange County, and one in Flower Mound, which is Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. And we'd love to have you come by. In the meantime, if you haven't already, please like the video, please subscribe to our channel, and share it with anybody you think can benefit. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Take care. Happy training. Bye now.